Denver, Colorado, 1978. Children and guardians are accumulated for a youth ball game. Finney Blake is pitching, with his sister Gwen biting him on. Finney figures out how to toss two balls that get strikes, yet on the third, another player, Bruce Yamada, raises a ruckus around town and scores a homer, allowing his group to win. Regardless of the misfortune, Bruce praises Finney for his arm. Bruce is subsequently seen riding his bicycle in and out of town, welcoming a few young ladies from school en route. Then, at that point, a dark van pulls up before Bruce, and he halts abruptly. Finney and Gwen live with their dad, a harmful alcoholic actually grieving the deficiency of his better half and the children's mom after she ended it all. As the kin begin strolling to school, they see a horde of children accumulated as the school menace Moose is estranging another youngster named Robin Arellano. Shockingly, Robin is talented at battling and rules Moose, beating his face to a ridiculous mash. Finney and Gwen continue strolling, with Gwen referencing a neighborhood hijacked referred to just as the Grabber, since they have discovered that Bruce has disappeared. At school, Finney is harassed by three young men who follow him into the washroom and call him names. Robin enters and undermines the domineering jerks in the event that they play with Finney. Robin likewise urges Finney to defend himself. In the meantime, two analysts, E. Roger Mitchell and Troy Rudseal, come to the school and address Gwen in the Key's office. Gwen claims she has dreams connecting with the missing youngsters taken by the Grabber. However, she can't make sense of the importance behind these fantasies. The following day, Finney awakens to find his dad beating Gwen in light of the police visiting his work and posing inquiries with respect to Gwen's fantasies and the relationship amongst that and Bruce's vanishing. Gwen breaks her father's alcohol container, and he beats her harder. He arranges Gwen to say that her fantasies are not genuine, as her mom had comparative dreams that were accepted to be feelings. Later on, Robin walks around the area. He then, at that point, turns the corner and finds the Grabber sitting tight for him, holding dark inflatables, which were likewise revealed as being seen when Bruce disappeared. Guardians around the area are educated about Robin's vanishing. The harassers at school then, at that point, pursue Finney and begin to beat him, yet Gwen shields him by whacking one domineering jerk over the head with a stone, making him drain a ton. Gwen gets kicked in the face, and the other two domineering jerks keep on beating Finney. Later during class, Finney is brought together with his crush Donna as his science accomplice. She offers feelings toward Finney getting beaten. Finney parts from Gwen as they head back home, and he experiences the Grabber's van. He acts like an ordinary man spilling his food, yet when Finney recognizes the dark inflatables, the Grabber assaults Finney and showers his mouth with a compound to take him out before he's tossed into the van. Gwen and different children from school before long discover that Finney is missing. The Grabber carries Finney to his cellar and keeps him detainee. There is just a single window, yet not a chance so that anybody might be able to hear him, assuming that he shouts. The Grabber insults Finney, however guarantees him he's extraordinary. On the wall is a dark telephone that is disengaged, which the Grabber professes to have heard ringing previously. Once more, afterward, the telephone rings, and Finney responds to it. He hears the voice of Bruce, who takes note of Finney's arm in baseball, referring to it as mint. Be that as it may, Bruce doesn't recollect his own name or what he did when he was alive. Bruce gives Finney a tip about a space in the floor where he can move a tile and start digging. Finney invests his energy digging and washing the soil away forever. Gwen has a fantasy where she sees a flashback of Bruce's life from youth and his creating interest in baseball. Mr. Blake converses with Gwen, saying that her mom would discuss having dreams that are dreams very much like Gwen does, and he figures this drove her to end it all, so he needs to keep Gwen from tumbling down a similar way. The Grabber brings Finney eggs and a Sprite, guaranteeing him the food is spotless. He likewise leaves the entryway open. However, as Finney strolls toward it, he hears the telephone ringing once more, and he hears the voice of a neighborhood paperboy named Billy. While conversing with Finney, his phantom shows up close to him, his face having been cut by the Grabber. Billy lets Finney know that the opened entryway is a snare, and the Grabber will be standing by higher up for him with a blade. Billy makes reference to a link he left in a break under the wall. Finney snatches a moved-up mat and slides the link up to the window bars and endeavors to climb out. However, his weight makes the bars get pulled off, passing on him with no real way to get back up. Another flashback dream shows Billy's life as a paperboy, conveying with his canine before the grabber got him. The investigators circumvent the area and address a man named Max, who is doing his own examination concerning the missing children. He lets the criminal investigators know that he is remaining with his sibling until further notice. In the interim, Gwen attempts to take anything data she can from her fantasies to attempt to track down her sibling. The grabber asks Finney his name, yet when he lies about it, he tosses Finney a paper showing the insight about his vanishing. At the point when he leaves, the telephone rings once more, and Finney addresses a kid named Griffin. His phantom seems drifting next to Finney, and Griffin enlightens him regarding a lock blend that he had down on paper. This is important for a game the grabber likes to play with his casualties called Shrewd Kid. Finney tracks down the numbers, yet Griffin can't recall the specific combo. While the grabber is resting, Finney sneaks higher up and attempts each combo he can imagine until he opens the entryway. Sadly, the grabber's canine Samson barks at the opening, which awakens the grabber. Finney runs out of the house and just makes it scarcely down the road before the grabber gets him. Neighbors turn on their lights, however the grabber takes steps to kill Finney at that moment, assuming that he utters a sound. He holds on until the lights switch off prior to taking Finney back. The telephone rings some other time, yet this time, Finney hears the voice of a nearby troublemaker named Vance Container. A flashback dream shows Vance at an arcade where he battled with two children after one of them played with his high score. He was captured shortly later. In the flashback, Gwen winds up close by Vance, who is conversing with Finney through the police radio. However, Finney can't hear Gwen shouting to him. They end up at a house, where Gwen attempts to recall the number. She later rides her bicycle through the area to track down the house and is scared by the apparitions of the grabber's casualties. Finney pays attention to Vance's recommendation and finds a space behind the wall where there is a cooler. Finney attempts to push through the entryway as hard as possible, yet without much of any result. He starts crying, expecting that he will kick the bucket there. The telephone rings once again, and he replies. It's Robin, and he recollects both Finney and his own life. He lets Finney know that he was generally his companion, and that this present time is the opportunity that he actually needs to go to bat for himself. Robin advises Finney to work on involving the telephone as a weapon and to fill the beneficiary with soil to add a weight to it. Gwen contacts the analysts and goes with them to the location she found in her fantasies. While this occurs, Max arrives at the resolution that the missing children are in the house he is remaining in light of the fact that the grabber is his sibling. He goes to the storm cellar and is stunned to track down Finney there. Similarly, as Max endeavors to help, the grabber kills him with a hatchet to the head. He pursues Finney, however the kid has used all the assistance from the apparition kids available to him. He sets up a carpet over the opening he dug, utilizing the link to trip the grabber and drop him into the opening, where he breaks his lower leg after it raises a ruckus around town from the window. Finney then, at that point, starts crying on the grabber with the telephone, and it rings one final time. Finney powers the grabber to hear the voices of his casualties provoking him over his destruction, and Finney snaps his neck. He gets a steak from the cooler and tosses it to Samson to keep him diverted. The analysts search the house, however find it void until one official tracks down the cellar. Rather than finding Finney, the analysts find the assemblages of the other 5 young men covered in the soil. The house where Finney was being held is across the road. He opens the entryway and steps out into the sun, where Gwen sees him and rushes to her sibling. The specialists deal with the children, and they are gotten by their dad, who mournfully apologizes to the two of them for how he treated them. Finney gets back to school more certain than previously. Different children consider him to be a legend for killing the grabber, and the harassers never again try to play with him. He rejoins Donna in science class, however he advises her to call him Finn.